Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Office Bloke Daz.
I'm Gaynor.
Office Bloke Aidan.
Here we are, all three of us together. If Patreon's your thing, check out the link in the description below. Loads of stuff on there. Starts just $3 a month, helps support the channel. Things like full watch-alongs, things like Modern Family, Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Seinfeld. And then we've got things like The Receiver on there as well. Season 2 of The Receiver. So
It's actually called The Quarterback. Season 2
It
Quarterback.
is The Quarterback.
Well, we have got season 1 of The
We've got
Receiver, yeah.
Season
You
1
are
of The
right about
Receiver,
that.
yeah. But it's, there's loads of stuff on there. Something
There
pretty
is.
much every day. You'll enjoy.
Band of Brothers.
Band of Brothers, yeah. That's right.
F is for family.
We went to Canada to see the US product boycotts. And what we found was striking.
What, they're boycotting like the US?
Yeah, a lot of people in Canada were boycotting.
Thank God his microphone's not working.
There we go, I'm back
Yeah.
on.
There you go. Yeah, a lot of people in Canada were boycotting because of the tariffs that Trump put in. Trump started installing tariffs to different countries around the world. You know, remember when he had the table where he was saying like all these people are going to pay like all different tariffs. And I think I think Canada got hit quite hard with certain things.
Tariff's just like import tax. Is that
Yeah,
what
it's like a tariff. Yeah, like a duty tariff.
Right.
So you have to pay duty on it. So
Duty. You have to pay duty.
Yeah, well, when I used to be in shipping, and I remember someone saying to me, there was no duty due. It was duty free. So she was American, and she went, "There's no duty due." I went, "Duty due." Yeah, okay. So it's always been a phrase. Yeah. Anyway, let's get into this. See what happened with the boycotts.
This section here traditionally would have been filled with U.S. corn. Customers love it because it's a great product. What started as a big display has been shrunk.
In response to U.S. tariffs and President Trump's threats to annex Canada, 71% of Canadian consumers say they intend to buy fewer American products this year. That's having an impact. The U.S. economy could lose up to 0.3% of its GDP, or about $90 billion in 2025, due to the boycott of American goods and the decline in foreign tourism. Giancarlo Tremarchi is the owner of Vince's Market, a Canadian grocery store chain with 4 locations. He's seen the backlash firsthand.
Talk to me a bit about how the Buy Canada movement has affected you at the grocery store.
Our customers are demanding from us as much Canadian product as possible. They're getting frustrated and upset when they see too much U.S. product.
We've obviously seen the very visible and visceral reaction from markets to US policies, but it's very interesting to see from the consumer side what impact it's having. And these little acts of activism from consumers who have decided to turn their back on certain US products.
If there was a Canadian version and an American version, we probably already delisted the American version and supported the Canadian product because that's what our customers are looking for.
And several countries, including Canada and Mexico and some in the European Union, are responding to aggressive U.S. trade policies with retaliatory tariffs of their own.
The U.S. tariffs look like they're going to last for the duration of the Trump administration in one form or another. That's going to keep other countries kind of in a negative mood towards U.S. goods and services.
I must admit, when I go shopping, number one, I don't know where a lot of the products come from. I never normally read the packaging, so all I say is that's Mexican products, or whether it's a product from China or wherever it may be in the world.
Like Don Tacos on the thing. I have no idea where that's from.
I just get Don Tacos and buy it. If I feel like a taco, Mexican product's going to be the best option, isn't it? Really, but I do try and support like local. I do try and support local stores.
Wouldn't you just go to like a farmer's market type thing or something like that?
Yeah, so we try and, like the local farmers, we try and buy locally. It's more expensive, but I'd rather do that than...
but we've always done that. That's not something in protest for any kind of like tariffs that were kicked in. We've always done that.
Yeah.
We've always tried to support local farms and buy our meat from there or buy our vegetables from different places like that. But when I go to the supermarkets, if it's like done on bulk, obviously, and buying oranges, I don't know where... I never look at them and think, where are these from?
I don't think they're complaining about the oranges. I think they're complaining about other foods that are like high-end stuff, right?
No, it's corn. He's talking about corn there.
Yeah,
so he's talking about corn. So he's talking about, I guess it's any produce that comes in, whether it be farm produce or whether it be like milk or whether it could be anything. Don't know, but you're buying like a certain product. You might be even clothing and apparel.
I don't know if I ever told you. Somebody gave me a hard time at the supermarket because I bought a leg of lamb and it was New Zealand lamb, and they said I should be buying Welsh lamb.
What? Someone gave you a hard time?
Yeah.
I just clocked him on the head.
Yeah, literally. I would have just porked him with the lamb, yeah.
But at the time I didn't even realise I was just buying lamb.
Yeah, but I grew up on New Zealand lamb. That's what we always had.
I just see it as lamb, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
I just see it as lamb, wherever it is from.
So what impact is the boycott on U.S. goods and travel having? And is this just a political statement or a permanent shift in buying behavior? CNBC went to Canada to find out. Vince's Market got its start in Toronto in 1986. and serves about 30,000 customers weekly.
March was when the real tariff threat was like all the news. We had Canada flags everywhere in the store.
Tremarky says since then, his customers have moved decisively away from U.S. products.
At the height of when we are out of Canada's growing season, we could be upwards of 60%, 70% American produce, okay? Right now, we're only running at about 30%.
Canadian flags and labels mark domestic goods in aisles, while apps like MapleScan help shoppers identify origin.
You take a photo of a product, the app will scan what that product is, figure out what it is, the label, look up information online about it, essentially compile all that information together into
there for hours.
a product page to kind of give you information about like the company's history, who it's been owned by in the past versus now, what are its Canadian ties.
But some items are hard to replace.
Mangoes and pears you can get from different parts of the world. When you get into things like Anjou and Bartlett pears, right now you can only get them from the United States.
The most in demand and the hardest ones to replace from the U.S. is typically berries, citrus, and greens, lettuce.
If there is produce from the U.S. and produce from Canada, and they're the same, of course, I'll go Canadian, of course.
We've always been very pro-Canadian, even way before all this stuff happened. This just reinforced it.
Canada is America's second largest food export market, worth $28.4 billion in 2024. The boycott has impacted other parts of the store too.
How is that affecting kind of these perceived American products like Coca-Cola or Lay's?
Yeah, Coca-Cola and Lay's are great examples of global brands. They actually bottle Coke bottles in Canada, about an hour and 30 minutes north of here. Frito-Lay uses Canadian potatoes. There would have been no identification of where Frito-Lay products were made. It would have been small and on the back. Once they realized that they were getting a bad rap, they went ahead and they added Made in Canada labels permanently onto the bag.
Makes sense.
American staples like wine, beer, and spirits have seen the biggest change being wiped off Canadian shelves. Earlier this year, multiple Canadian provinces announced they were pulling American alcohol from their store shelves. And in March, Canada imposed a 25% tariff on all U.S. alcohol products. A 25% tariff on distilled spirit imports from...
I'm pretty sure there was talks of them doing it in the UK as well with tariffs, with American alcohol, because I think Trump was talking about putting whiskey, tariffs on whiskey coming from Scotland, although he's quite partial to Scotland, isn't he? Because he's got golf courses there, and I think his ancestry from there or something. I think he mentioned once before. But when they and then Britain did the same and said, well, you're going to get your bourbons and stuff that are coming over. We're going to tax them the same, and it was like the cost of a bottle of like Jack Daniels was like went ridiculously priced.
It was like 50 quid or something.
There were talks of them going like it's so high up in the price, and everyone was like, just none of the bars would be able to sell it. No. It'd just be too expensive to sell. So you'd lose your things like your Jack Daniels on a day-to-day sort of like basis what people were buying in the UK. Yeah. So it comes a bit crazy, doesn't it?
Yeah,
sort
it
of
does.
Thing overall.
Mexico and Canada could cost more than 31,000 U.S. jobs.
So we're in our wine section now. Our wine business, roughly 40% of our red wine sales is California cabs and blends. So that's $60,000 a week in sales that are just gone. They've evaporated from the United States. We're replacing it. And we're replacing it with import wines from France, from South Africa, from Australia, from New Zealand.
In 2024, Canada was the U.S.'s top export market for alcohol, exporting $435 million worth of wine, $221 million in distilled spirits, and $41 million in beer to Canada. The loss to the U.S. is a boon to Canada, with the Buy Canada movement adding roughly $10 billion to the country's economy.
Wow.
Giancarlo thinks if the tariff dispute is resolved, the boycott might ease, but it's unlikely every customer will go back to buying American.
So I actually just had to respond to a customer from last week that came in and felt like we had too much American product, and they told us they're not going to shop at our store anymore.
And just like shelves are being cleared of American products, international travelers are clearing their travel plans to America, turning away from the country as a destination. More Canadians visit the U.S. each year than from any other country. In 2024, 20 million Canadians visited the U.S., generating $20.5 billion in spending. But the flow is slowing. Online travel searches from Canada to the U.S. dropped 50% this spring.
If you look at Canadian drive traffic, it was down nearly 30% in March. Air travel, not as bad. Combined, it was down about 15%.
And you hear it anecdotally, either Canadians staying in Canada for vacation or going to somewhere else like Europe.
Businesses along the northern U.S. border report plunging revenues. vanishing foot traffic, and uncertainty over survival.
When you look at that border traffic, as you said, Michigan, obviously with Windsor and Detroit right there. When you look at New York State, Buffalo, they've taken the brunt of that fall in Canadian travel.
And it's not just Canada. Across the Atlantic, travel to the U.S. from Europe is also dropping.
Sort of early indications from Europe that that might be the case too. A core saying that bookings from Europe to the US are down 25% over the summer period.
The pullback is costly. The U.S. is on track to lose $12.5 billion in international visitor spending this year compared with 2024. It's part of a sharp reversal over the past decade, but tensions tied to trade and immigration are making it worse.
It's about $200 billion that these international travelers spend. That's bigger than all of our agricultural exports combined. We need these travelers here, obviously, from a job standpoint, a spending standpoint. You know, when these travelers come, they do nothing more than come, spend their money, and go home and tell their friends and family to do the same thing. It's free money. So discouraging these travelers, letting this deficit grow as we seek to balance the trade deficit, we're only digging a deeper hole. What are we doing to send a message that we want you coming to the United States? And that's what's been missing.
From goods to getaways, the impact of U.S. policy is reshaping international behavior, and the ripple effects may be long-lasting. The boycotts that began in Canada have spread. European consumers frustrated with American foreign policy are rejecting U.S. companies as well. And anger over Trump's comments about annexing Greenland led 44% of European consumers to say they're shifting away from U.S. products, no matter what happens with trade negotiations.
Tesla, McDonald's, these being front of mind, some of these really big household US names that they've just been rejected by some consumers in Europe.
Tesla has seen the brunt of the boycotts. Its European car sales have tanked for the 5th straight month in May, with sales plunging almost 28%.
I'd like to see that though on a with Tesla. It used to be the only option really with electric EVs, wasn't it, in this country anyway. Talking about just purely based on the UK. There wasn't many electric vehicles sort of like buzzing about other than Tesla.
Yeah.
And then now you've got all, it says there Chinese EVs, these loads, ones I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
Saw one yesterday advertising at a new showroom pop up and I was like, I've never even seen that name in my life.
Yeah.
And but they're making vans and cars of the electric vehicle. I guess it's a Chinese option, but the Chinese options are cheaper.
Yeah. And
I don't think it has anything, this is my personal take, I don't think it has anything on Tesla being American.
No, I don't.
It's the boycott. I don't think that's a boycott. I think that's just a situation of these cheaper options.
I think a lot of people got a Tesla and then realised that if you have to replace the battery, it's so expensive. It's not worth.
I think that the Tesla people I speak to, I was talking to a guy who was fixing the doing the installation of the dash cams, and he said he had a Tesla, and he said to me, "It's the best car I've ever had, and I'll never have anything else again." And I was like, "That's a bold statement considering the relatively newish car.
Yeah.
You know, they're not more than like 30 years old or anything. You can buy like Fords, I don't know, years old, but he was swarmed by it sort of thing, and it's, I don't know, now you see, like I say, pretty much every other car is now electric. There's a lot of electric vehicles on the road, but a lot of them are brands I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
But I think that's what it is. I think it's just the cheaper option.
Where's that Polestar from?
There's Polestar, there's Cupra, there's loads of them that have popped up. I don't know where they're from, no idea. Yeah.
From brand damage, increased competition, and the political views of CEO Elon Musk.
I want to temper the optimism a little bit. It's tough out there. I mean, the markets, particularly in the U.S. and then developed Europe, I'll say, remain very subdued. The trends at total distilled spirits, which would be total spirit takeaway, in these markets are not anywhere near where they were 2 or 3 years ago.
The fallout from America's trade wars is no longer limited to tariffs and boycotts. Global growth is now projected to slow by nearly half a percentage point as a result.
In terms of global GDP growth, that is a big number because the annual growth is maybe like 3.5 or 4%, and you're taking 1% off of that. That's a pretty big hit.
What we're starting to see in the data is that American manufacturers based in the U.S. are starting to increase prices as a response to lowering volumes in other countries, like Canada, for example.
But still, there's hope that the trade tensions will ease over the long term.
Do you think that this will be a long-term trend?
I think there will be some long-term impact where American products and American brands will be negatively impacted long-term. But I do believe there's a point where we get back to a balance of an interconnected food system, because just that serves the best needs of our customers, both sides of the borders.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's I think it'll definitely the trend will definitely reevaluate itself, because I think people like the creature comforts as well. So they're buying corn, and it's corn from the USA, and all of a sudden they switch to Canadian corn, it doesn't taste as good, or it's not as value for money. Then all of a sudden the trade tariffs change back to levels that they were. Whoever's in administration, people will go back to what they like prior.
Yeah, I think a lot of people grow their own fruit as well, fruit and vegetables as well.
It's becoming a trend over here, I know
Yeah.
that for sure. A lot of people doing their home products, but home produce. But it goes into everything. It goes into vehicles. I know Jaguar Land Rover over here had a major impact on tariffs going into the USA. I think they put something like a 25% tariff on Range Rovers and Land Rovers going in there, which sort of like saw an excess stock over here, and then all of a sudden you can get Land Rovers and Range Rovers over here for very cheap. Then I guess they're just switching them over to however they do it for the domestic markets.
Yeah.
But I know that was the same with I think it was Aston Martin, Range Rover, and Bentley, Rolls Royce, things like that. We just saw a massive impact on their vehicles going over into the USA. But I think them trends, like I say, it's probably a bit of a fad, a bit of a phase.
Yeah.
With the tariffs going up to what it is, and then once they do get back to how they should be, everyone will be back to normal.
Yeah.
Interesting take though, isn't it?
Yeah.
On patriotism when it comes to sort of like supporting your own.
Yeah.
People should be supporting their own anyway,
Yeah, they
always
should,
through.
yeah.
They're on buying local and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they've got the comforts of having a product which is probably a little bit superior, maybe even cheaper because it's mass produced.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Anyway, let us know what you think in the comments.
Yes.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.